everyone, welcome to today's first video. If you're new to this channel, there will be 2 more videos within the 2-hour intervals, and I'm going to continue with this schedule until end of July to catch up with all the days of World Watercolour Month of July. So I decided to look at my 2 of the swatch cards there for the palettes. One of them, the one that you can see on top, is the face palette, and the one beneath it is the candy palette. So I have put them together myself. There are links down in the description where you can find the videos to those 2 palettes and the list for all of the colors. So what I'm doing here, essentially continuing the spread. I really like there to be a similar color palette to the opposite page, and this illustration is from yesterday, so this was the final one of the day, and it was the sweet pea. Now I want to create flowers that, the main flower, not to be the sweet pea again, but something similar. So I decided just to paint those 3 petals and kind of leave it at that. At the top of it, I'm adding some berries which kind of remind me of the red currants or black currants or something along that. And the berries are just really easy to doodle, and they create a nice element because they're spherical shapes, and I find that anything that's spherical usually makes the composition look very nice. So if you're stuck and you don't know what kind of flower or side flower to paint, then I recommend you try something that looks like berries. Very easy and always makes it look quite pretty. So that is what I have done here, and again I'm repeating the the same sort of similar style. I'm still going within the same style, and I will continue like that. So I hope you're not bored of it yet, and by the looks of your comments you're not, so I'm very happy to hear that you're enjoying these videos that I'm making for you. So here I'm just looking at the composition and deciding where to add little leaves and foliage just to fill up the composition nicely, and in the hope that it's not going to look the same as the previous page, but similar is what I'm going for. Now in terms of the color palette, I didn't want to repeat the same colors, but I did want to stay within the same family of colors. So you will see me switch to the Mayan blue, which, by the way, I just made a nice little order of 3 or 4 new, I want to say 4, but I think it was 3. Anyways, new colors to my collection by Daniel Smith, and I'm super excited because they are, except for one, they're all genuine colors and they're quite special. So I'm kind of changing up my color palette at the minute. I'm really interested and I'm really into creating a specific color palette, so I'm working on putting a new watercolor palette. I have that mid-yellow empty plastic or bulletproof or whatever palette it's called, which has been just sitting and waiting for me when I'm ready to put a new palette together. And for that palette I'm not going to have the traditional yellows and pinks and greens and browns. I'm going to go for very unique colors, and yeah, so I'm really excited. That's basically what I'm doing. I'm just adding a few new colors to my collection. So as I was saying, the Mayan blue, this is the Mayan genuine, I think Mayan blue genuine is the right order of the names, but there is also a Mayan dark, I think, which is also a very beautiful color. So I just noticed it just now when looking at the new colors. I have a dot card which I'll try to link down below. It's very useful to have the dot card. It's a little bit pricey for what you may think is just essentially a swatch card, but there is a drop of a watercolor for every color of the collection except for the new releases, and you can not only swatch it out properly, but you can actually use a little bit of that color on your favorite paper elsewhere, or your sketchbook, and just give that color a little go and try it out. So it is very useful tool to have, and also every time to go back and look at the colors, because it's a one thing to look at swatches online, it's a completely different thing to have the real colors in front of you, and having swatch them out, you can actually see with your own eyes in the different light. So it could be evening light, it could be daylight, to see what the color looks like. You could make a little list of the colors you want to update or add to your collection, and then have a look in different lights, and then see if you still fancy them, etc. So it's really, really helpful. So here what I'm doing is breaking things up a little bit again by adding that Napthamide Maroon. By the way, as I use a limited color palette, I try to link all the watercolors down below for you, so you'll find it in the list, and then whatever other tools I'm using, I also link that for you. So usually I just make a link which is for open stock, and then I tell you what is the name. If you're interested, you can then click on the link, and then it will display all of the pencils by that, or whatever tool by that brand, and then you will know which colors to go for. Okay, so here I have lifted some of that Napthamide Maroon because it bled too much into the Mayan blue, and as it is doing right here as well. I was regretting it later that I have let it kind of bleed. I could have just make it sit right at the base of the flower, which I think would have been a lot better, but that's just again experimenting and finding things out that you like or do not like, which in either case is quite useful. So here's the Mayan Blue Genuine on its own, so you can see it's a really, really pretty color. It granulates beautifully. It's a muted blue. If you're not into blues, this blues is nice to have, because it actually if you swatch it out on its own, it's like jeans, like denim, you know, and it's such a pretty color, very, very interesting. So besides that, I have also added the cactus flower for a duochrome, which you'll see later. I will add a little bit, trying to rescue that large flower, which at the moment looks a little bit messy. And then I am adding the Daniel Smith green gold green, and that's a nice juicy color. Again, I wanted to keep the same color as on the previous page and have that juiciness and lightness there. So as you can see, I am expanding the color palette slightly, and in the upcoming videos I will start adding a couple more colors, but all of them will be within the same family, like tinted colors, and tinted colors, what I'm trying to say, the same color group, I think that's it. So within the same color group, but I will be going sort of lighter, darker, etc. So there will be one which actually will have loads of colors, but they all will be from the same family of the colors. Okay, so here I'm moving on to the Derwent Graphitint, and I pulled out two colors, but in the end I just like this one, which is, let me see, I left it on my desk so I could tell you. This is the color Storm number 18. It's a pretty tinted grey, so it has a little bit of a taupe kind of color. It's reminiscent to Sepia 10% by Caran d'Ache Museum Aquarelle, but it's not the same thing, but very kind of similar, within the same or similar color. So here I now added a little bit more of that Napthamide Maroon once things have settled and dried a little bit more, and so that I can have more contrast. Then I'm trying to rescue that flower by adding the Mayan blue again over the top, and hoping that I could get rid of that Napthamide Maroon from the petals a little bit more. And it's looking better. I was happier with it in the end. Just I felt that there was an element of messiness there, but you know, that happens if you start introducing colors that you want to experiment with but are not certain about. That's it's really easy for it to happen. So I went ahead and, as always, stamped the date. And actually now you will see me, this was the point where I thought I'm going to call it a day, but I'm going to go back and add a few more things, because I decided it needed a little bit more work. And there I am, adding the cactus flower again over the top, not really glazing because the Mayan blue was still wet, so I'm just kind of mixing the two colors together and trying to dry it a little bit. And at the point where I thought maybe this is it, I will go back and do a little bit more correcting in a way. So I lifted the colors from there, and again going into cactus flower. Naturally you haven't seen me fuss about before, but I think this was a little like a breakthrough moment where I tried to experiment with colors, adding some colors that I thought would be interesting, but it's just that point where you are not certain it's working. And in theory it should work, the colors look lovely together, but when you start mixing them together, then a new color comes through. And so this is exactly what happened here, which is what I didn't like. So there I then realized I wanted to add again that storm color, but by accident I picked up wrong color. So this was a different one. This was the russet, and I didn't mean to use that at all. So I had to kind of lift it a little and go over with the storm again. The storm adds again texture and a little bit of a tint there, because it was a completely white leaf there, so I wanted to add a bit of dimension just on the side. So I think this is almost it. Now you can enjoy the close-ups, and thanks for watching. See you in 2 hours.